When I first started to want to become a teacher, the things that I worried about were, am I going to be able to deliver the content in a way that my kids will be able to understand? Am I going to be able to manage the day to day? Am I going to be able to structure my lessons in such a way that will be enriching children? Am I going to be able to learn from my colleagues? Am I going to be able to analyze my students' data correctly? Am I going to be able to really find out where my students are so that I can help them every day? Because that's what we do. We're teachers. That's what we do. We care about our kids. That's what we do. We love our kids. We care about their growth. We want them to succeed. We create little communities every year, and then we say goodbye to those communities and come back and start a whole nother community in our classrooms. That's what we do. We're teachers. Why would anybody want to be a teacher today? You have some of the loudest parents who everything's a teacher's fault. You have things coming down from on high of the latest and greatest of what to do, but it doesn't make sense in a classroom in a practical sense. You have people that have never taught making legislation for teachers and students, even though they have never set foot in a classroom. You have the money going to every other place other than teacher recruitment and retainment. You have less people going to educational programs in colleges, or you have a lot of people coming from a second career because they have an idea of what teaching is. And you know what ends up being sad? Out of all the classes that I took to become a teacher, out of all the tests I had to pass, of all the papers I had to write, not once did I have to say to myself, wait a second, am I okay with getting shot? Is that a requirement of being a teacher? Is that a requirement of being part of a school? Is that I have to go in and day out and think to myself, is today the day somebody's going to come to my school and shoot it up? And I've thought about this. After every school shooting in my whole career, every morning I've had to drive to work. And I've thought, I would get in front of a bullet for my kids. I know I would, without question. And you know what ends up happening when these teachers help these kids and keep these kids safe? The narrative is, oh, that's so good. Thoughts and prayers. What's the problem? It's the guns. The guns are the problem. So I got a call today about my son's preschool having to go on lockdown. Now, on lockdown at the advisement of police in the area. So my just turned 5-year-old son went on his first lockdown because in America, this is normal. We have children having the threat of gun violence in their schools, and some of the ideas that got floated out there back when Uvalde happened were to get the shooter in some sort of rat trap door. We have bulletproof classrooms being able to pull out from the side. We have to train kids that if somebody else is coming into their school with a gun, this is what you're supposed to do. This is becoming normalized in this country. And yet, during the pandemic, all I could hear from some of the loudest parents was, this isn't what's best for kids. Put them back in school. When you had health officials, teachers, and other community leaders saying, we're not sure if this is the safest for them. No, put them back in school. And then when we have instances of gun violence in schools, it's literally just thoughts and prayers. It's just thoughts and prayers. And then you have other leaders trying to arm teachers or say that teachers need to get training for guns when they won't even arm us with resources so that we can better support the kids and have their Maslow, their social emotional learning safe and secure before we start teaching them. We've been accused of indoctrinating kids. We've been accused of taking kids to drag shows and exposing them to pornographic material and getting mad about looking at artwork. There are parents that are going screaming to the high heavens. If my kid is identifying by a different pronoun, I as a parent deserve to know that. Even though there are some instances where if we did that as teachers, those kids are not going home to a safe environment. So all this talk of keeping our kids safe, do you really want your kids safe? Because it sounds like you want your rights above all else, when there's been other people who have been struggling to make sure that their kids have what they need, that the teachers have the resources that they need, that the buildings have enough space for your kids to be able to be in a safe learning environment. And yet, all I've heard especially since COVID started, is stop indoctrinating our kids. CRT is the worst thing for our kids when it's not being taught. Ban these books. I can't believe all these transgenders are affecting our children. What about our children? What about our children? Our children are getting shot. They're getting shot and killed. And every time we bring up what are we going to do about the guns? Thoughts and prayers. When people show you who they are, you need to believe them. And this isn't even a thing where there's a small disagreement. It's ticky-tack. Oh, should we do this versus that? There have been, since Columbine, so many school shootings. So many children, teachers have lost their lives. And every time there's a discussion about it, the solution is more guns. Or you blame mental health while also not funding schools for mental health counselors. Or you blame video games, or you blame violent TV, or you pick something on the internet. Canada has access to the same content that our kids are seeing. Japan has the same access to the video games that we're playing. Germany has the same access. The United Kingdom has the same access. England has the same access. Spain has the same access. There's something that's different, and I'm not quite sure what it is. I am appalled that there are certain leaders in our country that are so hung up on shall not be infringed, even when it comes to loss of life of kids. I'm not okay with that. You shouldn't be either.